was a conference here in Washington last week where we have two themes present. We have the research community, the medical community, saying, look, what we need to provide the public is good information, and let them make the decision based on facts. We have the emergency community, the Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency people talking about forced vaccinations, forced quarantines, basically the politicians running the show instead of the people who are from the medical community and know much better about the threat of this particular influenza. And so how effective would a vaccine be if the majority of people decide not to take it? Well, for those who take it, of course, they can limit their exposure to others. But what we're basically hearing is there's a anti-vaccine movement now starting across America. As one person said from the public health community, said these people are revving up, almost like this is the enemy, and not they're going to invoke all these various protocols for emergency situations, treating these people who don't want to take the vaccine. Forcing children as a predicate to enroll in school, for example, to take the vaccine is going to cause quite a few problems here amongst the public in the United States. And how much testing was actually done on this vaccine? How come we weren't able to find one that would, not have all these side effects? Well, the testing, we're hearing, of course, there may be a recommendation for 3 vaccinations, 2 for the swine flu, 1 for the regular seasonal flu. But we all know about the side effects from 1975 and 76, and therefore this vaccine, even amongst people who work in the medical community, is not considered safe. And when are these decisions likely to happen? When will they decide if this will be mandatory or not? We're hearing that this second wave of the flu for the Northern Hemisphere will strike sometime at the end of September and reach peak in October, possibly. This is actually what happened with the 1918 flu. First cases in September, peaked in October, ebbed off in November. So we'll probably see this vaccination program come into full effect next month. Well, as we get closer to the deadline that they're supposed to be offering these swine flu vaccines, we'll be sure to keep you updated on anything we hear about it.
I mean, according to the World Health Organization, we come under IHR 2500, which says that they have the legal right to control the response to public health emergencies in the United States of America. So we are signatories to that, and therefore they have the right to carry out any measures they want and to recommend to our government what measures need to be taken on a state level. Well, all the plans have been worked out, as you say. They're using the excuse of the troops and the response of the military as to control riots of people who want to get the vaccine, which I thought was rather humorous, rather than being the other way around as people who don't want to get it.
When you look at Tamiflu, you've got a classic, again, inside trader scam that is unfortunately a grave risk to public's health. Tamiflu is a psychotropic. It is very, very deadly. And that this particular drug was developed by Cyril Corporation, with one of the major movers and shakers in that company at the time was Donald Rumsfeld, who was the past Secretary of Defense under the Bush administration. Now, when you understand what we're dealing with today, biodefense is biological warfare. The entire biodefense industry has evolved out of the military sections, and that we're in now economic collapse worldwide. That's fuel for war. Every single time the world has gone into economic collapse, they've gone to war. Now we have a new form of warfare. It's called non-lethal weaponry. It's a misnomer. It actually kills you slowly and expensively, pharmaceutically. And that's what is called a revolution in military affairs. And what they've done is use what's called the Russian biological cocktail method of exposing targeted populations to combinations of chemicals and biologicals, which Dr. Schreiber will tell you are both in these hideous, intoxicating vaccinations. As a result, the population, masses of people who believe these fools, who believe these sad, what they call experts, they go in, get vaccinated, the children vaccinated, and as a result, they end up with a whole assortment of not only chemical toxicity from heavy metal poisoning, as well as formaldehyde, formalin, MSG. You know, this is what causes chemical intoxication, followed by biological attack. Because when you inject a human body with foreign RNA, foreign DNA from bacteria, viruses, fungus, yeast, chicken embryo, bovine fetal serum, and monkey kidney tissues, with smallpox, it was actually, Dr. Schreiber is absolutely right, it was cow pus. They were actually injecting people with pieces taken from cow pus. So this is a virtual witch's brew. You might as well add eye of newt, because then you might have something that at least, you know, is a bona fide witch's brew, and we would understand it as such. We're now looking at pseudoscience operating under the guise of public health, and it is all an economic ploy, and unfortunately, it's directed by the same people who fund the depopulation organizations, like the Population Council of the City of New York, that has evolved into Negative Population Growth, Inc., and that organization currently is calling for a 50% plus population reduction on planet Earth. Now, you put one and one together, you don't have to be a genius to come up with two. When I was reviewing that literature, again, behind closed doors, Dr. Robertson and Dr. Woods from the UK were discussing what the best methods of biopreparedness and vaccination would be for the population globally. And they stated that it's probably best that we start to prime the population with viruses ahead of time, ahead of pandemic flus, because that way we can be certain we're getting out the best prevention. Now, that means, folks, if you're listening, that means your world's most expert leaders, who are the movers and shakers, working between governments of the UK, virtually the Anglo-American biological, bioweapons, biodefense, corporate contract industry. These top people who are protecting, allegedly, the world's public health against infectious disease are saying that we're going to expose you ahead of time, that is the best method. Now, I believe that because of what they've done here, first of all, this flu that just broke in Mexico, they said all those components to it. Now they're changing their tune. And now we're beginning to get more and more realization that the Model State Emergency Health Powers Act, which is the mandating of forced vaccinations, the mandating of quarantines, the mandating of the school closures. You've seen that this week. For the first time, really, in American history, you see control, virtually corporate fascist pharmaceutical industry directed control over the American people. And in fact, most people don't have any idea how far it's advanced. The legislation that indemnifies even all the drug companies, all of the emergency responders. In other words, if they declare today in California the requirement for quarantine, the requirement for your school closures, the requirement for vaccinations and Tamiflu prescriptions, and they have that authority now in the state of California, then you have no legal recourse whatsoever. In fact, the state constitution is suspended because it's an emergency. They've passed the statutory laws that allow this, and the emergency responders are likewise. If the police officials who are going to be involved, the fire department officials, the medical officials, and medical physicians, nurses, they will be indemnified, kept free from liability in case they or the drugs or the vaccines induce injury. Now, if that is not the full license to kill the population, I don't know what is.
So this slide, of course, says that portion-controlled diets result in permanent weight loss very rarely. So Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers and all these diets, counting calories, all this stuff about portion sizes being bigger than ever before and people got to put it on their plate and eat less food, it's really not going to work because people will just eat more frequently if they eat smaller portions. They'll just eat again more frequently. But in any case, we have to desire smaller portions, not just put it on the plate. And to do that, to desire smaller portions, we really have to eat high nutrient, high volume foods, and we have to eat a lot of them. It has to be the majority of what you eat. So what foods are highest in nutrients? And what foods are highest in bulk and fiber and volume? What food, and here's an example of high volume foods. So let's categorize this into 4 categories. Raw vegetables, of course, lettuces, celery, cucumbers, snow peas, tomatoes. Raw vegetables are a critical necessity for excellent health. When you cook a raw vegetable or cook a vegetable, you lose about 35% of the isothiocyanates that you would have gleaned had you taken it in its raw form. You know, that's okay. I mean, cooked vegetables are still needed too, because if we just ate all raw vegetables, we wouldn't get enough vegetables into us, because we get too filled up from them fast. So what's wrong with a raw food diet for most people? Because some people can do okay on a raw food diet, but many people cannot, because the raw vegetables take up so much bulk in their stomach, and because they're not digested efficiently, that the majority of calories pass through you undigested because people don't chew well enough.